Hello everyone, Killer Shrew fan here, and I hope you're all doing well. It is about high time that we did another killer toy review, so today we will be taking a look at this, the new for 2019 Safari Limited Allosaurus. Now, it took me forever to find this one. Like, I was kind of waiting for it to pop up on Amazon. I don't know why I didn't just order it straight from Safari. I don't even know if I think it's available on Safari right now, but lo and behold, I went to Dinosaur Ridge in Colorado the other weekend, and in the gift shop, I was surprised to see that they already had these guys out. So I snatched one up, and I'm really excited to take a closer look at it here for you today. Before we get started, as you can see, it does have the typical Safari Limited tag, which comes with a cool little factoid. But aside from that, I don't have any unbagging or anything to do since, I didn't get this one new from the website. So there he is. So without further ado, we're going to take a closer look at this guy. Alright, let's do this. So starting off at the head, as you can see, Safari Limited have done a great job of rendering the Allosaurus in toy form, perfectly capturing the sort of sleeker skull without relying on shrink wrapping. It is a narrower build, but they managed to achieve that and still give this thing a powerful looking jaw and head. It does not seem like the flesh has not been collapsed to the face in any way, but it still maintains that sort of narrow build of the Allosaurus. Also interesting, if you look at the upper jaw there, you can see that they have included lips on this Allosaurus, and you can see the varying sizes of teeth poking out, and of course the entire head is covered with scales of varying shapes and sizes. The brown eye is seated nicely with some lovely wrinkles around the eyelid, and you've got those lovely blood red crests adding a graphic nature to the head and instantly drawing your eye. Now if we move down the length of the body, as you can see, we have got more scales of varying sizes, along with lovely wrinkles and folds of skin in the neck region and down, sagging around the gut as the thigh pushes that skin into the body. That is a lovely and very natural detail that I love to see dinosaur models capture, is the way the skin would bag and move with the animal, which is always, so cool to see because it captures a moment and makes it feel even more lifelike. And as you can see, the scale details continue all the way down to the tip of the tail. Moving back up the opposite side, it's really the same story in terms of the detail. However, once you get to the right leg and you see that it's backed and bracing against the ground, the skin is actually pulling away from the body, which just further solidifies how natural the treatment of the skin folding is done on this model. And oops! Oh, anywho, trying that again, if we get back up, you can see the opposite side of the head, and yes, I don't know, but for whatever reason, this side of the head appeals to me even more. Perhaps it's just the way that it complements the pose. I can't put my finger on it, but I do prefer the view from this side. I can't even back myself up on that one, but yes, you get a good look at the other side of the head here. Taking a look at the legs of this model, as you can see, they are so incredibly gracile and bird-like. The feet look like they came straight off of an emu or other large land-bound animals such as an ostrich. I absolutely love the delicate nature of the ankle coming into the bulging, muscled region of the thigh. There's some lovely folds of skin bagging up around the knee and the calf region, and then of course the thighs look so incredibly powerful and strong with their flexing musculature as they brace the creature on the ground. Moving along to the arms and hands of this Allosaurus, as you can see, they are sculpted with the palms facing inwards as they should be. The claws have been dulled down for, I assume, play safety, and there's this lovely gradient of paint going from black or a very dark green to a more forest lime green coloration on the bicep region. And there's also some lovely scaling, folds of skin, musculature, all of that stuff has been addressed here, and you can see the pectoral muscles going on just at the base of the neck there. If we move along the underbelly, you can see the lovely treatment of the folds of skin in the gullet region. All of the wrinkles have been rendered quite nicely in sculpture form. There on the underbelly around the pectoral region, which we just talked about, you can see the Allosaurus copyright 2019 Safari Limited logo. The foot, there's a good look at the bottom of the foot, I guess. And of course, with most of Safari Limited's figures, they do include a vent or cloaca region. And of course, the scaling and wrinkling texture continues all the way down to the tip of the tail on the underbelly as well. Now we're going to talk about the pose, but before I get into that, just want to point out how narrow the skull looks from the front here. It looks absolutely incredible for Allosaurus. I do like this thing from the front. It doesn't look too bulky. It doesn't look too square. It looks like it should, that sort of narrower build, which Safari Limited did a great job of capturing. But the pose, it's the typical Safari Limited pose in that it captures a moment of life without relying on some big stylized gestures or movement. It's simply taking a step forward while leaned over and craning its neck to the left while the back right leg braces it on the ground. It's naturalistic, it's simplistic, but it gets the job done, and it does a good job of capturing an image of what this creature might have moved, how this creature might have moved in life. As far as the paint scheme goes, pretty standard dinosaur stuff. You've got dark greens gradiating very well into sort of lime greens on the lateral region and on the calves, and then of course the dark green or black comes back on the tips of the extremities, the feet, the hands, and then it gradiates back up into the lime green, and it's kind of like a sandwich. You got the dark green, the lime green, and then the dark green again on the dorsal region. Then you've got this area of like white underbelly paint, and that is rimmed by these black stripes, which gives this thing a very graphic and bold nature, and it does a good job of looking stylized, but not like super out there in terms of the paint. There is one area that I want to talk about, and that's this right here with the underbelly paint coming up and sort of rimming the arm there. It's just a very bizarre choice on Safari Limited's part to have the sort of ventral paint coming up onto the lateral sides of the creature and then rimming off the arm, which is, you know, technically part of the lateral side, and I don't feel like the top of the arm should have the coloration of the underbelly. I mean, the underarms, like the inner arms there, you can see they have the white, and that's fine because I feel like that's part of the underside of the creature, but when it comes up onto the shoulder and there's no gradation or anything, it really makes this thing look like it's wearing a t-shirt and its arms are poking out of the holes. I don't know why. It's just bizarre. Like if they had, like on this side it's a little better. The black stripe isn't like killing it for me, but it's the white on this side that really kind of grinds my gears. Like if they had just left that little section of white green, I wouldn't be talking about this. I don't feel like, and this is something that they changed from their early promotional images to this, and I don't understand why. I mean, I like the white underbelly and the black lining. I think that's a very bold coloration choice, and it complements the more standard green colors quite well, but just that one moment of underbelly paint spilling up over the arm, that kind of bothers me in a big way. I can't explain exactly why, but it does, and I feel like I'm not alone in this. As far as the size of this model goes, taking a look at the front of the snout to the tip of the tail, you're looking at right around 9¼ inches long, 9 and maybe pushing about 9½ inches, if I'm being generous, which is about 23½ centimeters. And from the base all the way to the top of the head there, you're looking at just under 9 inches off the ground, or excuse me, 9 centimeters off the ground, and then that is, of course, in inches, about 3 inches, 3½ inches off the ground. So, you know, smaller figure, but definitely kind of in size, in the size range of your typical safari wares. For size comparison, here he is next to the Papo Allosaurus, and this is honestly, if he'll stand, come on, this is honestly one of the times where I think Safari Limited's more subtle approach is far and away exceeding Papo's stylized approach. I don't know exactly why, but when I see these two next to each other, I mean, they're not compatible at all, just gonna throw that out there if you couldn't decide that by yourself. But seeing them next to each other, I find myself gravitating more towards the Safari Limited Allosaurus, which is a rarity, I will admit. Next up for size comparison, here is the Safari Limited Allosaurus with the recently reviewed, also new for 2019, Safari Limited Camarasaurus, and I gotta say, these two do not really size up all that well together. Perhaps if you want to imagine the Camarasaurus as a sort of subadult or juvenile, that might be okay, but yeah, as the two of them stand, they're not really size compatible. But yeah, if you get a couple Allosaurus, you know, teaming up on a juvenile Camarasaurus, I think that would be, you know, fun for dioramas. And then, of course, for size comparison, we would be remiss if we did not bring in the also new for 2019, recently reviewed on the channel, link is in the description below, Safari Limited Stegosaurus. Now, this figure is just on the hairy edge of being a bit too large. The Stegosaurus, I mean. It's nothing too offensive to the eye. It's close, I guess, but it's not quite there. That being said, I do think these two play off of each other quite well, and if you're gonna get one, I think you might as well get the other, because they make for some interesting diorama shots. They're both Safari Limited, so they're both pretty play compatible, I would say, in terms of their style. And yes, just, looking at them like this, I think they look pretty good on the shelf together. I feel like the Allosaurus's pose, with its head craning to look, I feel like it was literally made to be paired up with this Stegosaurus. I don't think there's, like, any denying that. I think it's almost like Safari Limited planned this. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is going to do it for our look at the new for 2019 Safari Limited Allosaurus. Overall, I think this is a pretty good model. It's nothing too out there. It's not going to be an attention grabber. It's not going to be a conversation piece, but it definitely gets the job done and is probably one of the better offerings or more appealing offerings in a year of controversial Safari Limited pieces. If you were to ask me for my final rating on this thing, I think I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10 and give it an official recommendation from Killer Shrew Fan. It's certainly much better than the previous Allosaurus that Safari Limited gave us, and like I said, I do prefer this to the Papo sculpture, even the Papo repaint, which came out this same year. If you're gonna, pick between those two, I'd say go for this one. I think it's a bold new sculpt, and it is eye-catching enough to stand out on your shelf. And it is, like I said, a highlight in an off year for Safari Limited. But as always, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this model. Are you planning to pick it up? Do you own it yet? What's your favorite Allosaurus in toy form? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And as always, if you enjoyed our review today, don't be afraid to let us know by hitting that like button. And don't forget to subscribe on the way out. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and that's going to do it for us today. Killer Shrew Fan, out.